So welcome to Chat 24 of the Moving Fearlessly chat series. We are so pleased that you are here. So for those who don't know or need a little recap, Moving Fearlessly is a mix of a little bit of moving communication and a little bit of fearless communicators. So Johanna is moving communication based in Sydney, and I work with fearless communicators, and we're based out of New York, but we work internationally. And for the last couple of years pre-COVID, we've come down under to Australia to do some programs. Good morning, Diana. And we have a collection of our alumni on the screen today. So the first year that we came to Australia, Johanna was in our Fearless Force program with us, walking through the Fearless Fire, creating her signature speech. The second year we came to Sydney, Anita was with us. And then this year, I thought I was going to be in Sydney, late March. We all know that didn't happen. So instead, what we did at Fearless Communicators is we created a new program called Your Story Now, which Tiffany and Diana have participated with us. And Suze was in the audience, and maybe Claire's going to do it one day soon. And Serena, welcome to the Moving Fearlessly community, because I'm aware that this is the first time that you're with us. So
yes, that's right.
Yeah, beautiful to have you here. So there's just a couple of things that we do traditionally to begin our events. So I'm going to follow that ritual, and I'm going to ask now for permission from our elder to begin, and the elders. And the reason that we do this is to acknowledge wisdom within our communities, and to, acknowledge that there is wisdom in our elders. And this is a tradition that I picked up working with some communities out of New York in the African American communities. And this is what they do when they begin. And I thought, I like that. I'm going to keep that. And so now we do it with all of our Fearless events. So you get to self-identify if you identify as an elder. You may just be an elder for today on Wednesday. Or it may be how you're turning up for 2020. But what I ask is, if you are an elder, I'm asking your permission to begin. And the way you get permission is what we call elevated sparkulation, which is just circulating your fingers to the screen. So elders, are we ready to begin? Yep. We've got some sparkulation. We've got some nods. We are beginning. Thank you. The other thing that we like to acknowledge is the fact that we are on indigenous land. I'm currently in Barbados, which means I'm on Kalingo Carib land, and I wish to acknowledge the elders past, present, and emerging. And I invite you in this moment to also write into the chat the indigenous land that you are on. So we're all recognising that we are guests of where we have arrived, and just acknowledging that there were peoples and history here before we were here. And so bringing the whole world together into Planet Moon and acknowledging all of those lands, we also wish to acknowledge Fearless Communicators is a US-based company, but we work globally. And we want to acknowledge that there is undoubtedly the persistence and prevalence of institutionalized racism, misogyny, LGBTQ+phobia, ageism, and ableism. And we use our voices, bodies, and stories in the dismantling of those oppressive systems, seeking the justice, freedom, and liberty for us all. So it is in that spirit that we join today in the Moving Fearlessly community for Chat 24. And as we do, we like to connect up, and we like to have a little bit of a play and a g'day. So I'm going to hand on over to my fabulous friend, playmate, and co-host, Johanna, who's going to just take us through a little bit of connecting.
Yeah. I think let's greet each other this morning. Let's do a nice warm greeting. So let's, I'm going to start with the offer to, so what this will look like is we're going to greet each other in the spirit of something, and we're going to greet by calling out someone. So I'll just demonstrate with Deb. So I'll say to Deb, and I'm going to pose that we greet each other like we're soft, warm babies who have just woken up. Good morning, Deb. And Deb is going to mirror that back to me. Good morning, yo.
Good morning, yo.
She's going to do it in her own way to someone else.
Oh, it's Claire.
It's Deborah. Oh, Anita. Oh, Anita.
Good morning, Serena.
Hello there, Tiffany. Hello, Serena. Hey, Suze. Hey, Tiffany. Morning, Diana. Morning, Suze. Johanna, beautiful day.
Diana, a beautiful day. Lovely.
That was so nice.
Yes. Oh. A nice soft beginning.
Thanks, yo.
Pleasure.
Again, welcome to the Moving Fearlessly Zoom room today. And today it is my great pleasure to share time and share the amazing wisdom with you of my friend Anita. So last year, when Eduardo, the founder of Fearless Communicators, and I rocked on into Sydney, we do as we do, which is like we have a plan and we're half making it up as we go along. It's a Deb Eduardo kind of thing. It's how we've created a lot of amazing things in a lot of amazing cities. And one of the things that we did when we arrived in Sydney is we started connecting out to different spaces because we thought, we were here, let's go meet some people and do some, the fear of public speaking workshops, and let's turn up to some places. And so we did, and we went to a co-working space called Tank Stream Labs. And we had a great community of people who turned up for our lunchtime, lunch and learn public speaking workshop, which was great. It was really great fun. And our host and the person who was with us in that workshop and representing Tank Stream Labs and inviting all of the people to join and be with us was Anita. And one of the things that we said is we have space. We're about to do a Fearless Force program and there's some space. There's one spot left if anybody wanted, to this community of people who were there. And the program was literally starting in a couple of days. And it's an intensive 6-day program where women go through the whole process of writing their signature TED-style speech. And we finished the workshop and Anita comes up to me and she says, I think I might be interested in that. And I remember the moment of going, oh, yes, you are. And I could see it. And what I saw in that moment was somebody saying yes to themselves and stepping forward with, I think I want that. I'm going to put my hat in the ring. And I saw that really clearly. So first, that's my first layer of introduction with Anita, is saying yes to herself. And she'd said yes to Eduardo and I in the space already so beautifully that day. But then what emerged as we worked in the program with the other women, and Johanna was there with Eduardo and I helping us out with the coaching and facilitation, what emerged was the deepening of Anita's story. And 6 days into the program, we hold our Fearless event where each woman who's gone through the program stands on the stage and delivers their Fearless Force speech. And when Anita delivered her speech in Sydney in October of last year, I remember being in that audience and feeling, not only thinking, but really feeling in my heart and in my gut, this is bold and this is brave. And I was felt complete privilege for being someone who had helped Anita get to that place, standing on that stage and delivering that fearless speech. And some of that is what Anita's going to share with us today. So we're going to do what Anita did, which is talk out loud about anxiety. So with that as an introduction, Anita, welcome to Moving Fearlessly. Thank you for bringing your story. I'm just going to put you on spotlight so we can all see just how bold and beautiful you are.
Hi, amazing. Thank you so much for the introduction, Deb. My goodness, I don't know if I can live up to that. Again, thank you so much for having me here today. I was okay. Now I'm a little bit nervous. I feel like, I've got some big shoes to fill. But look, I just want to start off by saying it has been a year, just over a year that I did this talk and that I actually came out, officially came out with living with anxiety. So it was a very, very big deal for me. And as Deb said, the program, Fearless Force program, was an amazing program. And when I got into it, I thought I was just going to learn how to speak, to public speak better, to not not move my fingers or to stand better. But I never in a million years would have thought that I would have shared my story about living with anxiety. So today I would love to be able to share with you all my story as well as I take parts of the talk from last year and share with you my journey about anxiety. So with your permission, I would love to be able to share my story with everyone here today. Okay. So I'm working at a breakfast event and my phone starts to ring. It's my client. My stomach starts to drop. She says to me, "We are terminating your contract." And I feel sick. So my name is Anita Backham, and I'm the founder of Anita Planner, an event consultancy business, and I live with anxiety. Now, ironically, anxiety is the 5th most stressful job in the world, only behind police officers, airline pilots, and firefighters. To give you a bit of background, I am an Australian-born Asian. So my parents are from Laos and Thailand, and growing up was a collision of 2 cultures. So when I went to school, my 2 best friends at school were white. And on the weekdays after school, I would play softball, I'll go to ballet lessons, I do all these sorts of activities. And then I would go to Kelly's place where her mum would make us Devon rolls. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Devon rolls, so think of Devon as a processed meat like Spam or ham, a worse version of ham. And it's rolled up with mashed potatoes, and then you roll up the Devon and it's in like this little hot dog sort of roll, and it's absolutely delicious, but it really is an Aussie treat. Now, in comparison, on the weekends, my mother is one of 7 children, and my grandma at the time was matriarch of the family. So every weekend we'd go to my grandma's house and we would have fried chicken and sticky rice. Now, I grew up with 16 cousins, so going to that house every Saturday, if you wanted food, you really had to get in there first. So it's a big difference between Devon rolls and fried chicken and sticky rice on the weekend. Now, growing up in an Asian household, the expectations were slightly different to, I would imagine, those of other households within Australia. Now, my parents came over here when they were relatively young, so it was always a clash or collision of 2 cultures growing up. Is it my Laos or Thai heritage, or is it my Australian upbringing? Now, my parents never really put the pressure or responsibilities on me, but I still felt, as the eldest daughter, I have one younger sister who's 4 years younger than I am, I still felt I had the responsibility to look after them, to take care of them and take care of my sister. But they still loved me unconditionally, whatever I did. So I was very, very lucky in that respect as well. Now, society's expectations are, you go to school, you finish school, you go to university, you get married, you have children, you buy a house, all that sort of stuff. Now, I wasn't really the norm. I didn't really follow societal standards. I remember the first time I probably did follow society's expectations is when I had my first anxiety attack. Now, anxiety attack, even using the word attack, it just feels so real. So I prefer not to use the word attack. Let's just go with anxiety episode for now, right? I remember my first anxiety episode really clearly, even to this day. I was married at 28. I was separated by the age of 30. Now, I was celebrating my 30th birthday. I remember the beginning of that night, I was crying in the bathroom stall with my sister. The reason why I was crying is because my husband was going to be late to my 30th birthday party because he was fixing a car radio. Of all the damn days to fix a car radio. I had a great night celebrating my birthday. You know, we had a 1920s theme. I'm an event planner. I'm very passionate about events, so I had to have a fitting theme. It was the last year of my 20s, so obviously I had to do a 1920s theme party, right? So we all had a great night. I stumbled home, fell into bed. Everything was great, besides the beginning. So come Monday morning, before I go to work, I'm getting ready and I'm brushing my teeth. I look up into the mirror and I don't recognize the person that's staring back at me. And I begin to cry. And I keep crying and keep crying and keep crying. I don't know why I'm crying. I don't know what I'm feeling. I just don't know why. I just can't stop crying. So I'll call my sister, who works in Parramatta, and she says to me, you know, we'll go and see a doctor. Something's not right here. So I said, okay, I'll go and see you. So at this stage, I'm living in Piedmont. She's in Parramatta. It's about a 40-minute commute. And I am crying the entire way there. So I see this doctor and he asked me, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. And I keep crying again. I just can't stop crying. So he writes me a medical certificate for stress anxiety and he sends me home. Now, I don't leave home for almost 2 weeks. I'm still functioning when I am at home at this stage, but I'm messaging my manager at the time saying, I can't come into work today. I'm not feeling well. And then one day I message him and say, I can't come into work today. I don't want to get out of bed. So he says to me to call a counsellor and to book an appointment in. At this stage, I don't want to lose my job. So I book in a counsellor and I set up an appointment for the next day. Now, I haven't left my apartment in almost 2 weeks. The first time I'm leaving is to go see my counsellor. When I step out of the house for the first time and into the world starts to spin. I close my eyes, I crouch down, and I touch the ground to ground me, and I know I'm okay. So I go to see the counsellor. I have marriage counselling sessions as well. And by the end of that, I decided to get divorced. Now, at that stage, I didn't even know I had anxiety. Now, my 30th year was a really big year for me. I wanted a divorce, but I also wanted to forge a career in events. So off I went. I started off as an event administrator, and in 4 short years, I became the head of events at a company called Stone and Chalk. Now, it was a really, really steep learning curve for me. It was like a rocket ship just going straight up. I had no chance. Whilst I was at Stone and Chalk, I felt very similar symptoms as my first anxiety episode. The thoughts that were consistently going through my head at this stage was, I'm not good enough for this role. I shouldn't be here. I'm too young. I don't know what I'm doing. Who am I to be in this head of events role? So during this episode, I also could not stop crying, but it was less so than the first episode. I didn't go to work, but this time for 1 week, not 2 weeks. I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to talk to anyone. The saving grace in this episode was that I met Shirley, my counsellor to this day. Shirley is an absolutely phenomenal woman, and I owe a lot to her with her help today as well. Now, I remember the first meeting that I had with Shirley. She said to me, "Your anxiety causes you too." And I said, "Wait 1 second, wait, you're saying I have anxiety?" And that was the first time I realized that I was living with anxiety for all of my life. This was only 3 years ago that I recognized that I have anxiety. So when I received that phone call that morning from my client, I should have had another anxiety episode. Everything was there. I mean, I was in debt. I was disappointed. I thought I was a failure, but I actually felt relief. I realized that through this counseling sessions and being able to recognize my triggers, I was able to evolve from my anxiety attacks to anxiety episodes. But I'm in events and I'm a very passionate events professional. So the way that I've learned to manage my anxiety was to coin an acronym, right? EVENT, EVENT. So E is to experience it. Know what your triggers are. V is to be vulnerable, that it's okay to be vulnerable. E is to embrace it lovingly. N is to name it, to acknowledge that it's just anxiety that is talking. And T is to take action, to meditate, to speak to someone, to see Shirley or see a counselor. So with anxiety, I know I'm not alone in this, right? In fact, maybe you're living with anxiety or you know someone that is living with anxiety, but in Australia, 1 in 7 people is living with anxiety. And that's a really, really high number. Now, Event helped me manage my anxiety, and it's helping me to this day, every day, to recognize what my triggers are, to be vulnerable, to embrace it lovingly, to name it, know that it's actually anxiety, and to take action. I make sure I meditate. I make sure I see Shirley regularly as well. Because with anxiety, we need to stop trapping it. We need to give it a voice. We need to treat it with love. And most importantly, we need to set it free. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Anita.
Oh.
Thank you. Let's all just sit for a moment in that thank you and that great gift that you've just given us there. Wow. So great to hear that full story again, Anita, more than a year later. How do you feel sharing it again in another public forum?
I definitely feel more alive. I think the first time I shared the story, I was really nervous because I hadn't actually said anything about living with anxiety, not to my closest friends, not to my family. So the first time I shared the story was really a coming out of living with anxiety. But since this year, I've been really open about talking about anxiety and talking about living with anxiety. So I think today was quite monumental in that I'm able to share this without feeling any guilt or any shame or any embarrassment or anything like that. So to be able to share my story and hoping that, people that are listening will help them share their story as well. That's been my aim for the past year, to be able to say, hey, it's okay. It's totally okay if you have anxiety.
Yeah. And now you can all see why I was like, that's a bold move, because Anita had invited family and friends and a whole heap of work colleagues. They were all sitting in the audience, and she stood there in front of them and told that story. And I'm standing there at the back next to the camera person like, but also like, yeah.
Yep.
And so today Anita and I want to assist you to sit with whether it's you have experience of anxiety or whether it's you're supporting somebody who does. And we're just going to, invite a couple of ways to reflect upon that. Just before I introduce our activity that we're going to do, Anita, was there anything else you wanted to say at this point before we shift it over?
Look, I just really wanted to say, number one, thank you for joining us in this session. It means a lot. And also what we are trying to achieve in the next half an hour or so is really, it is a safe forum to talk about anxiety or to ask questions about how you can support people with anxiety and what you can do. I'm no expert, but I've lived through it, and I've been living through it without knowing for the majority of my life. So yeah, that's all I want to say is just, it's a really open, honest forum, and I hope you feel that energy wherever you're in the world as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Anita. That was a beautiful invitation. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to introduce another character into our conversation today, and that character is known as Mr. Whiteboard. So the whiteboard is going to come forward, and if you haven't played with the whiteboard before on Zoom, congratulations, you're about to have some fun as you meet Mr. Whiteboard. It's reminding me of Mr. Squiggle. Did anyone grow up watching Mr. Squiggle? Yeah. I'm getting flashes of that now. This is what's coming to me, why I've never called it Mr. Whiteboard before. But the reason Anita and I thought we'll introduce the whiteboard is it's a way to be able to respond to Anita's story, to your experience of whether you have any experiences with anxiety or to support someone who does without needing to actually say anything. We all just get to interact with the whiteboard initially, and we're just going to play in that space. So I'm going to share the whiteboard now. Can you all see the whiteboard? You can, if you have any questions about the whiteboard, feel free to take yourself off mute and ask. I'm not an expert, but thankfully Johanna is well adept at how do we play with the whiteboard. But once you're here, you can play with these different features up here. So you can choose to draw with these type of icons. You can write some text. You can add a little, I'm going to start with, oh no, is my color white? Hold on. There you go. So now the invitation is in response to, there's a reason why you arrived into the Zoom room today, whatever that was. And it may have just been, I want to be with the Move and Fearlessly community, or it may be something about this theme that's drawn you here. And now we've had the beautiful sharing by Anita around her experience. And so the invitation on the whiteboard is just to respond in whatever is with you, whatever it is that you want to express on the whiteboard. And we're just going to play for a couple of minutes. And also noticing as I'm moving around on the whiteboard, at the moment, it's me because I was the only one doing anything until Anita turned up with a vent. But when you're writing on the whiteboard, whatever you're writing on the whiteboard, it's anonymous, and it can stay that way if you want it to.
Hey, Deb, I don't know if it's just me, but I can't see the options or I can't actually play on the whiteboard. I don't know if anybody else, can you guys see it as well?
I can see. It's just white.
You can see? Yeah, we don't have the options to actually put anything in.
View options and go to annotate.
Annotate, yep. So take your mouse up the top of the screen. Yep. It says you are viewing Deborah Driscoll's screen. The view options, drop down, annotate, and the toolbar will open up.
Thank you. I completely missed that step.
Thank you.
Nice work. Okay. So if we don't have sorry, Yo, were you going to say
it might be just good just to go through, you've got text there, there you go. People are often racing. Yeah. You can change the colour up there, you'll see, to whatever colours along the right board. Yep.
Okay, let's play.
Cool. So basically this activity, we want you to illustrate when you hear the word anxiety, what does it mean to you? It could be a drawing. It could be a love heart. It could be a word. So have a little play, have a little, when you hear about anxiety, what does it mean? How does it look like to you? I'm loving the squiggles that are coming through.
It's a lump in my throat and belly. Beautiful.
I love that someone's becoming really artistic on that left-hand corner there. That's fantastic.
They can draw.
Yeah. Yes. You can definitely draw. Great.
Yeah. We'll just give it another minute or so if there's anything else you want to add, because sometimes it develops a little bit. Try and keep moving. It's a lump in my throat and belly. Close my eyes and breathe. Exhale. How can I help? Can't get out of bed. Can't get out of the house. Void.
I love that there's circles. There's a lot of circles.
Yeah, I was noticing that too, Anita. Yeah. We'll just give it a couple more seconds if there's anything you want to finish off there. Resistance. It just popped up. Holding on. Nature. It's a whole mix of feelings. Indeed. Okay. Are we still drawing or should we? It's hard for me to tell if people are still.
I think we're okay. I think everyone is put in the. Oh, there we go. There's one more.
There's one more. I had a feeling there was something emerging.
There's always another. There's always another something with the whiteboard.
But now what I'm going to say is last call on the whiteboard. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to save this. So our whiteboard is saved, and I just want to take a moment, everybody, if we can. Let's look at the whiteboard. Just take a moment with what's being seen. And Anita, what are you, other than, as you were mentioning the swirls, what are you noticing?
I'm noticing that anxiety, as it is in the real sense, is very different to different people. So, you can see people there where there might be squiggly lines where it's up and down. There's circles, which is, it just comes back around and around again. And then there is support and honor this community. It's a lump in my throat and my belly, or it's taboo. They've got sister there. There's void or resistance or restriction and question marks and love and stars, and there's like a compass through the hearts. So I think with the way that what I see on the whiteboard here is what I see in real life and out in the real world as well, is that anxiety is very different to different people. So it may manifest in different ways that we are not aware of. And that's exactly what happened in my story, that I wasn't aware of it for a good 30 plus years, that I was actually living with anxiety. And this is a prime representation of that as well. So that's why anxiety can be so misunderstood and is misunderstood in the world. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, that's definitely been a yes and to my experience, not only with the moments when I might feel it, but also it's hard to recognize it in other people as well, because it's not like the measles where it's a dot on the skin.
Yeah, that's right.
You've got the measles.
And I guess like in 2020, I mean, people who obviously with the year that we've had, anxiety can come up and can manifest in ways that we never thought you would expect it to be, right? It's an unprecedented year, so it's quite different this year, but I think that's why it's so important to be able to talk about it so openly, because it shouldn't take a year like a pandemic year to be able to have open conversation about it.
Yeah. Now, just before I stop the share, I just wanted to take like just a moment, if there was anybody else who had anything on the whiteboard that they've added that they want to comment on or share any story about. Just before I stop the share, because I didn't want to take it away, just in case somebody wanted to. So if that's you can just take yourself off mute and share with us.
It's Serena. I think I do agree that anxiety is different for everybody. So, and that's reflected on the whiteboard.
Yeah.
So definitely a mixed bag.
Definitely a mixed bag. Absolutely. Okay, thank you for playing with Mr. Whiteboard, everybody. I'm going to stop the share now and come back into the group. There's a relief I get when the group comes back into gallery.
Because you can see everyone nicely.
Yeah. So you were mentioning, Anita, about how you've had a year of being out and speaking about anxiety and inviting other people into the conversation. Plus, we've also had a year that's 2020, and different things have emerged for people, and I think for some people anxiety is definitely one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So is there anything in particular you've noticed about this year and the conversation around anxiety that you want to share?
Yeah, look, I think people are beginning to be more open about feeling anxious, whether it be, anxious about they may be losing their job, or they don't know where their next paycheck is coming from, or if their business is going to survive through to the next year. So these are the conversations that are happening a lot. And, these are conversations that are happening across Zoom meetings or even dinner table conversations now. It's more, I guess, a pro of this pandemic is that people are more open and honest about how they really are doing. Because you may ask someone, so how are you going? And they say, oh, yeah, I'm okay. But now everyone is sort of in it together, right? So you ask, really though, how are you really doing? And that's when people actually start to say, you know what, I'm actually feeling a bit anxious about this. It's causing me to not be able to sleep at night. It's giving me stress. How do I deal with this? I've never experienced this before. So what do I actually do? And so when I've been privileged enough to have these conversations with people, I explain to them the journey that I've experienced. Now, I always say that what works for me may not necessarily work for you, but it has definitely helped me come leaps and bounds during the past years to be able to recognize the triggers. So the most important thing is to recognize that it is anxiety, because anxiety is really lying to you, right? Because that's what it tries to do. It tries to tell you a lie that, tries to make a lie a truth. And that is where it causes the most harm. Causes you to stress. It causes you might have, stomach problems, or you might get flushed or sweaty. There's all these different symptoms that you get with anxiety. And now you may not have anxiety episode. It may just be, you just want to do nothing, sit on the couch and do nothing. And that is a sign of overwhelm and a sign of burnout as well. So I think it's just recognizing the triggers and recognizing what a trigger can be for you is a good thing. But also just having the conversation about it. I mean, I know some people who don't suffer from anxiety, they, who are just the way naturally resilient or naturally just resilient to anxiety. Now, they are having conversations with people who do have anxiety or are stressed or depressed. And they're always like, well, how do I help them? How do I help a loved one? How do I be that support person for them? Because it's hard. It's hard to watch someone that you love go through this and not be able and feel helpless, and think, well, what can I actually do? And the best thing you can do really is really just to listen. Don't discount their feelings. Sometimes someone just needs to just open up to someone without judgment and feel safe in sharing what their worries are. And their worries, in your eyes, might be, you have no idea what you're talking about. You are amazing. Why are you stressing out about this? But in that person's mind, the anxiety has got them so tightly wound that they can't see anything else, but that they believe that this is a person that they are, whereas everybody else looking from the outside in doesn't see that at all.
Mm-hmm.
So just having that safe space to speak to someone about it is great.
And that's where you talk about not trapping the anxiety, like not keeping it in the silence, not trying to squash it down, pretend it's not happening, but to actually bring it out and embrace it, which is what you speak about, and embrace it with love.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So, to with event, it's, to experience it, to recognize that it's anxiety. So that's the first step. And to be vulnerable, I think that's the key, is that it's okay if you want to share and to be vulnerable as well, and embracing it lovingly, because it's still you, you need to be kind to yourself. You need to still love yourself regardless. And then the end is to name it, to acknowledge it, know that it's just anxiety talking. It's so hard to separate the thoughts, but you do need to acknowledge it and know that it's just anxiety. And the T is, to take action, to speak to someone, meditate. Meditating is one of the best things you can do, because it focuses your mind on the present moment. So you're not having the anxious thoughts about the future or anxious thoughts about the past, about what you could have done better. It's grounding you into the moment, so you are present in the current moment and in control of the things that you can do now. So that has really helped me as well. I do 5 minutes meditation every morning, just 5 minutes. That's all
Good. Because I get a little bit loopy if I don't.
No, indeed.
I just wanted to open, we've got a few minutes left, and I just wanted to open the space, to make space, if there was anybody else who just wanted to express whether they have, a current or a recurring or a past anxiety that they want to say, well, I'm just going to share this story. Or you may want to express that you're supporting somebody else. So I just wanted to make some space. There's absolutely no pressure to speak because Anita and I can just keep talking and talking. But I just wanted to take a moment and just create some space in case there was anybody else who wanted to express anything at this point. Tid.
Hi, thank you for that, Anita. I am no stranger to depression, which is anxiety's melancholic cousin. But anxiety is something that's been quite new for me this year. And I don't know if it was COVID related or, you know, various changes in my own life. But I really like what you've been saying, and particularly what struck me was anxiety tries to make a lie a truth. The way it twists your mind into really believing that, you know, as you were saying, I don't deserve this, or I'm not worthwhile, or, you know, this can't, you know, this is inauthentic or whatever. And actually accepting that, okay, this, as you said, naming it, accepting that this is not actually what's happening, providing some perspective. Someone wrote on the whiteboard, "Go bush," and that's something that I realised. I've made a note here. It's 15 minutes drive from my parents' place to Mount Kira Lookout. From there, it's 15 minutes before I get into the bush where there's, you know, you can actually block out the sound. So really, it's just half an hour for me to get somewhere where I can actually be in a space that's going to be nurturing. That I can manage. So thank you for that. I went for a walk yesterday, and partway through the walk, I found myself crying, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And so I so resonated with your story, and it just came along for me at exactly the right time that I needed to hear it. So thank you for sharing it once again through Zoom, and thanks again to Fearless, to Moving Fearlessly, for being there for me at the right time when I need it again.
Thank you, Tid.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. And there's a reason why you're here today too, right?
Yeah. And go to the bush.
Yes, go bush.
Yes. I told you I'm getting myself some hiking boots, because I've just got, like, you know, as I said, I've dressed for summer, so I've got a pair of thongs and like some light shoes, and I just need to get some sturdy boots and do a bit of a walk. So yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Walking in nature does wonders, even if it's just 10 minutes just walking. It's to see some greenery. It's amazing what it can do to your mind to help clear it and help you get out of that mind space.
Yeah. Anybody else? We have space if there's anybody else who wants to share. Diana?
I was just going to say, Tiff, when you're walking, also stand still and notice. Use all your senses in nature. Don't just go walking, because you miss so much when you just keep walking. And I just want to thank you, Anita, for sharing your story.
Thanks, Diana.
Serena.
Anita invited me for a reason. So I think I better give my perspective. Thank you for sharing, Anita. I did listen to the recording of you coming out last year, and then I'm watching your journey throughout this year in being open about it. So I think that's really brave. I myself don't suffer from anxiety or those sorts of things. Maybe I'm one of those resilient ones that you were talking about that doesn't stick to me. But I do support a lot of people who have anxiety. My daughter, for one, she's still in her early 20s, but good enough to identify early that, you know, she does suffer from anxiety. And I think she's going through this exactly the same thing as you were, Anita, being the firstborn, being born in a culture, a dual, you know, culture, and then that expectation, you know. And for her, she has often said to me, and which is good that she can express herself and not try to hide it, although she hasn't really come out fully as you have, and maybe that takes experience and time, Anita. But, you know, she often has said to me that, you know, I can't live in your shadows, Mum. Everywhere I go, it's always Mum this, Mum that, Mum, you know, and that expectation to live up to Mum's shadows is really high on her mind. So for me, I try to take that off her and say, no, I'm not expecting that. So I guess my parenting ways has changed because I've seen that in the young, especially those, you know, firstborn in that dual culture. So I take that away from her and not put expectations on her, support her in whatever field or study that she's trying to do. So it's not uni for her. And I said, it's okay, you don't have to go to uni. She's in hospitality. Okay, let's see if you can move further in hospitality if that's what you want. So taking that away from her, and hopefully that, and she's been able to control it for a while, and sometimes the triggers are there, but yeah, so she's learning to live with it and managing it and identifying the triggers. And she tells me, that's the trigger, Mum, you just started. So sometimes have to be conscious to back off, as you know we are when we're mums and always hovering over them. But yeah, so for me, it's a learning experience too in dealing with someone with anxiety from that context where I'm the mum and I might be the cause of the anxiety. And so for me myself, it's learning to back off, learning to say less, or giving them the space to grow however they want to grow, and supporting them in that way. Yeah, but I think, yes, that's my my experience with people living with anxiety. Yeah.
Thank you, Sarita. And that takes, like, you know, I know it's not easy either, because you're juggling both trying to be a mum and also trying to be aware as well. But I know it's hard, and I know your daughter's, you know, she's a strong, independent, very capable woman as well. So, but thank you for sharing that.
Yes, thank you, Serena. So we probably have like 1, maybe 2 minutes left. I'm just going to open the space just in case there is any other response. And I'll just, yeah, Suze.
Thanks. Yeah, I've just kind of realized my mum has so much anxiety, and I think since I was a child, and complicated relationship. But I've just reflecting on my own resentment because of my mum's unavailability to me over my childhood and into my adulthood. Yeah, it's complicated. It's a complicated mix.
Well,
it's ongoing.
Yeah, it's ongoing. I think it's a good thing that you've been able to recognize that now, so that may give you some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? You know, that you're able to recognize that. So maybe there are things where you go, oh, okay, so this is a reason why this happened, or this is a reason why that happened, and that may give you some sort of Deb, help me out. What's the word I'm looking for? Not closure, but
acknowledgement.
Acknowledgement. Yeah, I think that it will give you a few things.
Yeah, like some peace as well. Like just to come to peace with some of the things that you may have experienced, and you go, oh, this is actually the reason why. And this is a thing where anxiety can do not just anxiety, but mental illnesses, mental problems, whatever you want to call it. you know, it's a big thing and it's happening a lot. People just don't talk about it. You know, it's just so taboo, and it's just, but why? If everyone experiences it in one way or another, or it's affected by it one way or another, why do we then not normalize this conversation? And then suffer years on it. So I think now when you recognize that, you may get some peace through some things or experiences that you've had. I'm not saying it excuses it, but at least makes you understand it a little bit more.
Thank you, Anita. We are at time, my friends, but we're not going to rush. If you do need to go, we recognise that we are at time, and we love you and we thank you for being with us. But what's sitting with me now is anxiety may be experienced by someone, but in some ways is experienced by us all because we're all connected. Mm-hmm. So whether it's your mum or your daughter, or for me, it was one of my sisters and also an ex-partner when I was younger, and I had no idea what was going on with him. Seriously, it took me years to figure it out, right? But I think it affects us all because, as Anita said, it's 1 in 7, and we all are interconnected in all these different ways, whether it's someone really close to you in your friend or family circle, or someone in your colleagues or your networks. We all have touch points with this. And so, Anita, thank you for opening the space for us to be able to just be in the space. For everybody who's registered for this, I'm going to be sending an email probably early next week because it's Thanksgiving in the US with the replay of this chat. You may just want to share it with somebody you know who is potentially experiencing anxiety, so they can be with Anita's story. And I also just want to offer that if there is a story that bubbles up for you around your connection or anything you want to express about anxiety, you can just push reply on that email and you can just type the story to me because I can receive your story. And if you also want Anita to receive your story, you can just also let me know that, and I will ensure that that story gets to Anita. Because sometimes stories, they don't immediately arrive. They may arrive later today or tomorrow or in a couple of days. And so I just want to let you know we are closing for today, but the stories never end. And my listening ears and my open heart will never end and never close. I am available for the receiving of your stories if they do emerge for you. And they don't have to come to me, but if they do emerge to you, do as Anita has shared with us today. Don't trap it. Embrace it. Give it some love. And with that, we're going to give each other some embracing and a little bit of goodness as we leave. So we have one final ritual in our Moving Fearlessly community as we say goodbye for the week. Again, if you need to leave, we recognise that we're over time, but we really hope you stay because we would like to love and acknowledge you all. And the way that we do that is everyone is to put their hand up to the screen, and one by one, we're going to be acknowledged and thanked. So I'll begin. And once you're acknowledged and thanked, you put your hand down so we can see who's had a red hot go. So I will begin. And I'm going to begin by acknowledging Claire. Claire, you're right in the middle of my screen. I so love that you come to be with us in this community. I see you. And I appreciate you, and I thank you for being here with us this morning.
Thank you. Serena, I thank you so much for coming today. I honour the mother story and sit alongside you in that as a step parent and let you know that really touched my personal experience as well. So I see you and feel you. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Claire, for the kind words. Tiffany, thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that in some way by sharing our stories, we have helped you and others as well. So look forward to many more stories to be shared so that we can all feel it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Serena. And thank you for sharing your story too. It's really warming to hear that, as you said, your parenting style has changed to better accommodate the needs of your daughter. And I hope she realizes how lucky she is to have a mother who will do that. And I'm sure she'll be very grateful to you, because that takes courage and strength and self-awareness as well. Suze, in that light, thank you for sharing your reflections and observations on your mother, and that she may be have had anxiety your whole life, and I hope that gives you perspective and the ability to empathize and perhaps re-examine the things that have happened to you and have hurt you or impacted on you. And I wish you all the best with that journey. And I hope that things shift in a way that you might want them to.
So much. Anita, thank you for sharing your experience and your insight. I really respect your process and your strength in that process. And I feel very moved and touched, and appreciate you very much for being able to host and hold and open and share a space that is difficult. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sue. That means a whole lot. I'm glad that you could join us today and share with us your story as well. And we all wish you the best, me especially. Like Deb said, I'm always open to receive your story as well. So please do reach out if you do need that. But thank you so much for sharing that. I'm so glad that I could help you and touch you as well. Deb, I'd love to acknowledge and thank you for the wild journey of the year that has gone past, but most importantly, for helping me to get that story out. If it was because of Fearless Force and you and Eduardo a year ago, I would not be sitting here having a conversation like this today. I would not be the person I am today. And I would probably still be suffering in silence. So thank you for helping me bring out my story and speaking my truth. And for that, I will be forever grateful. So thank you.
It's so delicious. Oh, I received that. It is my privilege and my honor. Absolutely, Anita. Big love, big love, big love. Diana, I see you. I see you, and I see you in all of your deep reflections and your beautiful additions and the way you just gently guide and glide. I see you. I appreciate you. Mwah.
Zoom mute.
Mute.
Johanna, I really love the strength and support and the holding of space that you bring, and the fun with your little bits and introductions. The lightness that you bring with that, as long as with the depth of holding space.
No, thank you, Diana. That's lovely to hear. I too will receive. And so I'll acknowledge everyone for us all showing up here in this Wednesday morning to sink and to settle into this rich conversation. Yeah, let's just acknowledge us for showing up and being here with and for each other and for the others in our worlds. So thank you and travel well. Remember to reach out if required.
Yeah. And everybody, I'm just going to tell you quickly, next week, turn up because Yo's up to the plate. Yes. Yo's going to do a
presents.
Way with presents.
Yes,
so
yes.
After that, I'm doing some science of stories, fun.
Deb.
The week after that,
Christmas party
in community for our end of year party.
Yes, fun and games.
Fearlessly, loud. Please take care.
Yeah.
And if you can, keep turning up because we love you. We so appreciate it.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Ciao.